What is your favorite Cage the Elephant album? That's right, everybody. I'm back again today with another top 5 video. This time our subject or subjects being the Kentucky-bred rock and roll legends Cage the Elephant. At the time I'm recording this band currently has 6 studio releases out right now, which according to the definition and the rules of a top 5 list means that one of these albums inevitably is not going to make the cut for me. That does not mean that album's bad by any means. I'll explain my thoughts on the one album that doesn't make it later. But first, for right now, let's get into my top 5 albums by Cage the Elephant. Number 5, Neon Pill. When the title track first dropped for this one, I will admit I was a bit skeptical, just because it sounds like kind of a B-side of something from Social Cues. It's kind of just a standard radio rock song, but the song did grow on me after a while, and I do actually think it fits in well in the context of some of these other songs on this album that actually showcase some good songwriting. Songs like Rainbow, Float Into the Sky, Good Time. I also like those kind of classic pop sounds of the song Silent Picture, as well as even the moody, darker vibe of the song Same. Overall, I think they came back out of the woodworks with something refreshing and meaningful given Matt's personal struggles between albums as well. So yeah, solid album. Number 4, Melophobia. This one's a classic amongst most Cage fans, I think. I know it's a lot of people's favorites, / it's kind of the one that most people started with. Those breakout hits Come a Little Closer and Cigarette Daydreams kind of propelled them into the mainstream, so I get why it's a lot of people's favorite. Teeth, Hypocrite, and Halo are amongst some of my favorites on here. This is a great album. It just sits so far back on my list just because I think they do have a few other ones that are just that much better. Speaking of said albums, let's go ahead and get into my number 3, which is Tell Me I'm Pretty. This album was produced by Dan Auerbach of the Black Keys. I mainly just love how raw this album is. I remember when it came out reading and watching interviews about how a lot of this stuff was kind of just recorded in like a couple takes. I think they really just wanted to capture the raw energy and emotion of the songs that they were writing. You can really hear a lot of that in Matt's vocal takes too. A lot of his vocals really aren't like tuned or processed much outside of a couple basic effects. So I think all in all that aspect of the record is cool. And in total, I think it just makes for a better cohesive listen. And it's really a good kind of like garage surf rocky kind of record, which I think was a little needed after those last two. All right, coming in at number 2, this is where I have to decide between 2 really good albums. I'm looking at my list right now. Even right now, I'm trying to figure out which one I want to place at number 2 and which one I want to place at number 1. I'm getting nervous. I'm doing this weird thing with my hands on my face. I think I just need to make this decision though. Number 2, Thank You, Happy Birthday. This is their second studio album. They went into this one not really wanting to be like confined into any sort of box or genre. I was watching an interview on this one recently, and they were actually talking about how they had like 80 song ideas that were eventually just scrapped because they wanted to start fresh and new, and that's just where these songs came about, I guess. I know it's kind of a miss for a lot of fans, but at the time it came out, there was only 2 albums to choose from by them, so it's not like they had this long-lasting reputation of being this like big southern garage rock band. This one also just has a bit of a nostalgic place in my heart too. So many fun songs on here that I used to crank up in my car, like Sell Yourself, Sabertooth Tiger, Indie Kids, and there's even some softer ones on here to give you some breaks from that stuff, like Flow or Rubber Ball,
which is kind of a snoozer in my opinion.
All in all, it's such a fun record, super Nirvana inspired, super Pixies inspired. Look, I'm gonna be honest here and say that I think this might actually be my favorite Cage the Elephant album, but record by record in the context of this band, I'm gonna throw it at number 2. And so with that one out of the way, my first record, number 1, self-titled. This album, simply put, is just a perfect 10 for me. It's just the definition of a solid rock record with some southern and blues influences too. Just really good garage rock songs written by a group of young, hungry Kentucky rock and roll boys. I love how in-your-face the production is. I love how raw the production is. Literally, there's just a guitar pan left and a guitar pan right, and that's it. It's very Strokes inspired with their own kind of southern twang on it. But again, what wasn't Strokes inspired at that time? In One Ear is one of the most badass album intros of all time, and Ain't No Rest for the Wicked admittedly used to be my drunken karaoke song for a long time. We even have Tiny Little Robots, Back Against the Wall, Lotus, all just super in-your-face rock and roll bangers. Again, it's a perfect 10 album for me, and I think that's why I'm gonna throw it at my number 1. Now with all that out of the way, let's talk about the album that didn't make it on my list, Social Cues. When I was going through listening back to all these albums, I did realize there's actually some pretty good songs on this record. It almost does kind of remind me of a Thank You, Happy Birthday Part 2, but structurally the songs just kind of start to sound the same after a while. They kind of start to blend together. Also, somebody can verify this and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I do believe this is their longest album in terms of number of songs. So I think for me, maybe it's just a bit too long. It just kind of starts to sound a little lazy to me after a while. But in between a lot of that stuff, again, there are some great songs on here, so it's not a bad album. In conclusion, I've always loved this band more for their rock and roll side, so that's of course why I'm kind of biased towards those first couple records. But again, listening back to these albums and watching some interviews on this stuff too, all Matt and the band have ever preached throughout the years is that they constantly just want to try new things on each record, which despite some of their repetitive stuff, that attitude still does come through with each record. I think each one does sound a little different from the last one. So going back over and listening to each of these albums, you really kind of do have to take it album by album and just judge based on the music you like best over what kind of band you think they should be.
Which I think is pretty neat.
There you have it, folks. That's my top 5 Cage the Elephant albums. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What's your list looking like? Why is my list great? Why does my list suck? I'm delighted to hear your thoughts either way. I also have my own music out right now that you can listen to wherever you stream music. I have an album coming out October 10th, along with a few singles from that out already, and I plan on releasing some more here in the coming weeks leading up to the big 10-10. Other than that, thanks for watching. Let me know who I should top 5 next, and stay tuned.